I'm currently training for the Valencia Marathon, where I hope to break my current PB of 2:18. I've been making these videos for a while now, and since last week was my first week over 100 miles in this block, I thought it'd be a good chance to take you through a typical training week, show you what I do every day, and show you how I managed to run 102 miles in 1 week. Starting off on Monday, this is my easiest day of the week. It's the day where I run the shortest and don't do any gym or core or anything else. I just do a short run, usually in the morning, but actually in this week it was late afternoon, just because I kept putting it off. So I did 5.25 miles at 7:06 average. I did this run around a 400 metre car park because I just like doing laps. Did it by myself, progressed the pace pretty well. I do think the Garmin's a little bit generous around here, so probably around 7:16 average, but Garmin gave me 7:06s for 5.25 miles. Moving on to Tuesday, this is the first session day of the week. This is usually the shortest session of the week and one where I'll run a bit faster than marathon pace ideally. On this particular week, it was 10 by 1k on, 1k off, which means I run 1k harder than marathon effort and 1k easier than marathon effort, but it's continuous, so it's 20k where you're not stopping, you're not really running that slow. The offs are still pretty fast. I did this session on a road loop that's here in Font Romeu. It's about 2.2 miles. Half of it's uphill and half of it's downhill, which explains why the splits are a little bit all over the place. The ons were between 2:58 and 3:12, and the offs were between 3:26 and 3:38. This gave me 20k in just under 66 minutes. It felt pretty good. I felt comfortable. Actually, the slower ons were the hardest because they were uphill, but it was a good solid workout. Didn't have to absolutely nail myself for this one, but was able to hit on average the paces that I wanted to. Smashed it. With warm up, warm down and session, this was a 17.65 mile morning. On Tuesday afternoon, I went for a double run, just another 5 miles easy. I like to do this on session days as I feel it helps with recovery, and of course it gets the extra miles in. 5.09 miles at 7:20s. Felt good, didn't really feel tired from the session in the morning. This is one of the worst routes I've ever done in my whole life. So rocky. I really hope I don't break an ankle. Did this myself, but phoned my parents just to have some company and catch up on the training camp so far. After this double on Tuesday, I was supposed to go to the gym, but it was my night for making dinner and it was getting pretty late, so I just left the gym and planned to do it later on in the week. On Wednesday morning, I did another easy run, this time a little bit further, 8.3 miles at 7:15s, just an hour of easy running. This is actually the first time that I've been dropped on an easy run in this marathon block. Can hardly even see them, which shows that the training is really starting to ramp up. I did feel a little bit tired, and I just knew the pace that the guys who I was with were running at was just too quick for me. You'll probably be surprised to hear that because it was 7:15s and the day before I averaged 5:18s for 20k, but easy runs are supposed to be easy. If you need to get dropped to recover, then that's okay, and you just can't let your ego get in the way. First time being dropped on an easy day in this marathon block. So officially day one of training hard. On Wednesday afternoon, after lying around and doing nothing all day, I did the gym session that I was supposed to do on Tuesday night. For me, it doesn't really matter what night I go to the gym in the week, as long as I get it done, ideally twice a week, every week. I've been doing it for so long that I don't really get DOMs or anything, so if it has to get pushed back to the night before a session, that's completely fine. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, especially if you're just starting out in the gym. You want to be feeling good in those sessions, so I'd maybe make sure to go to the gym before an easy day. On Thursday, it was another easy run, this time 10.1 miles at 7:22s. This was the worst run of the week. I wore far too many layers, completely misjudged the temperature. It was a lot warmer than it looked, and I wore tights, long sleeve and gloves. I actually considered wearing a jacket. So glad I didn't, because this was miserable. I'm not sure how anyone heat trains, because this was just not not fun at all. But got the miles in, nice and easy, making sure that I'm recovered for Friday session. After this run, I went back to the flat and took off a lot of layers before going back out to do some hill strides. I did 8x8 second hill strides with about 2 minutes recovery, just a really slow walk back down. I'm hitting these 8-second hills pretty hard, like I'm going as fast as I possibly can, which is not that fast, but is fast for me. I like to do these hill strides every week. I feel like it just keeps me in touch with that speed without the injury risk that sprinting on a track would. It really makes that marathon pace feel just a little bit easier because you're really pushing that top end speed every week. And yeah, it's another 1.25 miles in a week. A bit of it is probably walking, but it's on Strava, so it counts. Later on in the afternoon, I went to the gym to do some core. Usually I would just do this in the house, but because I'm on training camp, I don't have all the equipment that I need with me. So I usually just go to the gym and do it. And I'll try and do this twice a week, as well as the twice a week weights session. Moving on to Friday, this is the big marathon session of the week. On this particular Friday, I had 23 miles in total, which was made up of 3 miles easy, 8 miles at marathon pace plus 20 seconds, 2 miles easy, 8 times 1 mile at marathon pace or a little quicker with 60 seconds jog recovery, and finishing up with 1 mile easy. I averaged 5:41 for this whole session, but let's get into the individual splits. As with the Tuesday session, this was done around a 2 mile loop at the lake, which is not flat. So again, the splits are a little bit all over the place. The 8 miles at marathon pace plus 20 seconds started out at 5:36 and got down to 5:23. So average right around that 5:30 mark, which is pretty spot on if I'm aiming for around 5:10s in the marathon. I think that's around 2:16 pace, something like that. So 5:30s for that. Didn't feel amazing, felt comfortable, but just not really flowing like I would have liked it to. And then we got into the mile reps, which were very hard. Every odd number was straight uphill the whole way. So actually to keep a reasonable pace on these, I had to work pretty hard. These ended up just not really being marathon effort. They ended up being really quite hard, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing as long as you're not doing it all the time. Like, I didn't have to push that hard on the Tuesday session, so pushing the effort a bit extra on this Friday session, it's not the worst thing in the world. I actually probably hit one of my worst rep splits of the block so far in this session. My 7th marathon pace mile was 5:26. And that's just because I was knackered. Running uphill, my quads were really struggling. I had cramp. I just wasn't having a great day, and I'd pushed the earlier mile reps uphill a bit too hard, so had to slow down. This was like as fast as I could have ran that mile. And then the last mile was 5:04, not because I'm a last rep hero, but because it was downhill. I think that's the thing about altitude, is you do just have to not worry too much about the pace. You're going to be slower if you're running uphill or into the wind. It's going to affect you a lot more than it would at sea level. So yeah, not the best day for me. I wish that we did this on a different week, but this is the reality of it. You're not always going to feel good. Some days your splits aren't going to be what you expect them to be, but that's okay, because I got the session done, I got the work done, and I found out that carb loading isn't going to fix my cramps, so I need to look for another solution. After this session, I basically spent the entire day lying on the couch, feeling sorry for myself. I was pretty knackered, but got myself out for a double 4.2 miles downhill at 7:44s, which is pretty slow for a completely downhill run, but that's what I needed to recover. Another Friday, another downhill run, and another run where I've got my layers completely wrong. This time I'm too cold. I probably could have pushed this back to Saturday just because of how tired I was, but I like to stay in that routine that I double on session days, so I just made sure to get this done. I knew that when Saturday night came I would have regretted not doing the double, so got a double done. I had planned to go and do core on this day, but there was no chance that was happening. I think sometimes you have to just listen to your body and know when you're far too tired to do the extra things. I'm pretty good at always doing 2 gym sessions and 2 core sessions every week, so if I'm thinking that I shouldn't do it, I know that I definitely shouldn't do it because I'm overtired. And at the end of the day, the running's the most important thing. The gym work and the core work is there to supplement your running. It's not there to dig you into a hole and make you really tired and make your training suffer. So yeah, didn't do core on this night. That's okay. Moving on to Saturday, I had another easy run. This time 8.5 miles at 7:06s. I did not have high hopes for this run after the Friday session, but it actually felt really good. Sometimes running just does not make sense and you feel good when you think you're going to feel terrible. This was one of those days. Really enjoyed this.
Just finishing up another running paradise. Lovely.
It's funny because I spent the whole of Friday like wondering why I chose marathon running. I just had no energy to do anything and I was like, why didn't I just stick to my table tennis career? But less than 24 hours later, I was back and loving my running. Loved this run, probably one of my favourite runs of the camp so far. I don't know why. I wish I could explain it. I wish I could find why I felt so good on this day, but I did, and just got to take those days as a win and move on. On Saturday night, I went to the gym and did weights, full of energy, ready to go, smash the gym session, and ready for the long run on Sunday. Sunday for me is always long run day. It's funny because Friday session is now pretty much a long run, just like a really long session, but I still have to do that easy long run on a Sunday. 2 hours of just running, chatting with friends and getting the miles in. This is my third long run of the training camp in Font Romeu so far. The first one I averaged 6:28s, the second one I averaged 6:28s, and the third one I averaged 6:30s. So pretty consistent on these long runs. Really enjoying the long runs up here. On previous training camps, the long runs have been hard, so it's nice to just get out on the lake and chat and have fun and enjoy it. 18.6 miles at 6:30s, 2 hours of running, followed by an ice bath in the lake, which was absolutely lovely and a great way to end the week. If I was at home, I know for a fact that I would have done the core session that I missed earlier in the week on Sunday. However, the gym is closed up here on a Sunday, so I didn't have any choice but to recover from the week of training, and that's probably a good thing for me because I like to push things, sometimes a little bit too hard. But yeah, 102 miles on the week, 2 hard sessions, 2 weight sessions, 1 core session, and some hill strides. Things are looking really good. I'm feeling strong, I'm feeling good. Even though that Friday session wasn't quite as smooth and controlled as I wanted it to be, it's still a good step forward. It's still a good training stimulus. And with 9 weeks to go till Valencia, that's all you can ask for, is just keep stacking days, keep getting the training in, staying injury free, staying illness free, and putting these weeks back to back. So thanks for watching. If you would like to see what sort of results this training gets, then subscribe to the channel, follow along on the journey to Valencia, and let's see what we can do. Cheers.